Welcome to our channel. That's 3 mind-blowing stories. One such reason Betty White is so legendary was how she stood up for a black dancer in the 50s before the Civil Rights Act was passed. In a time where segregation was at the forefront of American issues, Betty White rejected attempts to keep a black dancer off her show. For her show on NBC called The Betty White Show, White hired a black tap dancer named Arthur Duncan to be a regular on the program. This didn't sit well with TV stations in the heavily segregated South, some of which called for a boycott of the show. But White didn't flinch when hearing the criticism of having Duncan on the show. When encouraged to take Arthur Duncan off the air because of the color of his skin, White politely declined and said, "I'm sorry, but, he stays." She also told her critics to live with it. And she gave him even more airtime. NBC eventually did cancel the show in 1954 due to a lack of sponsors, but White's support of Duncan helped give him a national platform that led to even more opportunities. Then, in 1964, Duncan joined The Lawrence Welk Show, a variety show he performed on until 1982, becoming the first black regular on a variety show. In 2020, Duncan was inducted into the International Tap Dance Hall of Fame. In 2017, Duncan made an appearance on Steve Harvey's show where he was unexpectedly reunited with Betty White. It was the first time in more than 60 years they shared a stage together, and served as a reminder that a courageous act of doing what's right can have an impact for generations to come. We will always remember the true Queen energy. Eight months after the April 1986 nuclear accident at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine, workers who entered a corridor beneath the damaged fourth reactor discovered a startling phenomenon: a massive globular, stalagmite-like formation of some mysterious substance, a black lava that had flowed from the reactor core, as if it had been some sort of human-made volcano. One of the hardened masses was particularly startling, and the crew nicknamed it the elephant foot because it resembled the foot of the massive mammal. Sensors showed workers that the lava formation was so radioactive that it would take a person 5 minutes to receive a lethal amount of radiation. When fourth reactor at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant suffered a catastrophic meltdown on 26 April 1986, the uranium core reached temperatures in excess of 1,600 Celsius degrees or 2,912 Fahrenheit. The vessel was so hot that the zirconium cladding separating the fuel from the coolant fluid began to melt and combine with the uranium, steel, concrete and sand present to form a radioactive, glass-like lava. Over time, the lava melted through the base of the reactor vessel and several floors of the building before eventually coming to rest in the basement where it cooled and solidified. The material has been named corium, after the part of the reactor that spawned it. Corium has only formed naturally 5 times in history: once during the 3 Mile Island accident in Pennsylvania in 1979, once at Chernobyl, and 3 times at the Fukushima plant disaster in Japan in 2011. Born of human error, continually generating copious heat, the elephant foot is still melting into the base of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. If it hits groundwater, it could trigger another catastrophic explosion or leach radioactive material into the water nearby residents drink. The still hot portion of molten core put out enough radiation to give a lethal dose in 300 seconds. Long after flowing from the core, this unique piece of waste continues to be a testament to the potential dangers of nuclear power. The elephant foot will be there for centuries, sitting in the dark basement of a concrete and steel sarcophagus. A symbol of one of humankind's most powerful tools has gone wrong. The thylacine, also referred to as the Tasmanian tiger, has long been a best-known example of human-caused extinction. In the 1800s, European colonizers in Tasmania wrongly blamed the dog-sized, tiger-striped, carnivorous marsupial for killing their sheep and chickens. the settlers slaughtered thylacines by the thousands, exchanging the animals' skins for a government bounty. The last known thylacine spent its days pacing a zoo cage in Hobart, Tasmania, and died of neglect in 1936. This monumental loss occurred shortly after thylacines had been granted protected status, but it was too late to save the species. Genetic engineering could resurrect this species. But should it? Colossal Biosciences, a Texas-based de-extinction company, is working with a researcher from University of Melbourne, who has already sequenced most of the thylacine genome. The thylacine is the perfect candidate for de-extinction. Because it died out relatively recently, good quality DNA is available, and its prey in parts of its natural habitat still exist. Australian scientists have been hoping since 1999 to use emerging genetic technologies to try to bring the thylacine back from the dead. When the species went extinct, Tasmania lost its top predator. In theory, reintroducing proxy thylacines could help restore balance to Tasmania's remaining forests by picking off sick or weak animals and controlling overabundant herbivores such as wallabies and kangaroos, some researchers say. There is a precedent for reintroducing long-absent keystone species. In 1926, after the last gray wolves of Yellowstone National Park were killed, a new ecological order emerged. Large herds of elk took up residence in the park, overgrazing native trees and vegetation. This fractured ecosystem persisted for 70 years, until wolves were reintroduced in 1995. Their re-emergence had a transformative impact, triggering what is known as a trophic cascade, a series of changes that ripple down the food chain, benefiting the entire ecosystem. Other scientists are considerably less optimistic about the project. The critics worry the glamour of de-extinction will rob attention and funding from conservation projects. One study in 2017 found that allocating sums to existing endangered species programs rather than giving the same amount of money to de-extinction efforts would see about 2 to 8 times as many species saved. With arguments on both sides, one thing that is certain is that concept of de-extinction seems to have slotted firmly into the agenda of mainstream science. To some, the notion of reviving a lost species may be unconscionable, a pushing of the ethical boundaries that exist within modern technology. Others have contended that extinct species are better off dead, acting as a hard lesson for future generations to learn about conservation of Earth's most vulnerable. Thanks for watching this video. Like this video and subscribe to our channel by clicking the button below the video. Don't forget to click on the bell icon and don't miss our next episode.